Hey guys, we'll go ahead and give it a few minutes for everyone to get in here and then we will get started. Hey, how's it going, Austin? How's everyone doing today? Good to see a lot of good people in here. Baby Stories, good to have you here. NFD, what's going on? A lot of good people in here, guys. If you guys could like the live stream as well, it's going to help us spread to the masses and be able to be seen by others and get a lot more people in here. So be much appreciated. What's up, Shogun? Good to see you here. Mr. Producer, GM. Mr. Producer, are you related to Andrew Tate at all? AB Plays, good to have you here. Baby Story says, ETH gonna break. We're gonna talk about Ethereum. Ethereum is doing amazing right now. Also the ETH BTC chart, it's breaking out of a symmetrical triangle. So we're gonna talk about that as well. What's going on, Elvis? Good to see you. Snifted. Natalia, good to see you here. Awesome, a lot of good people in here. Give it another 30 seconds. Let a few more people get in here, and then we will get started. Thank you guys so much for the engagement. You know I love it when you have comments. Always appreciate it. It helps the live streams go that much smoother. So we'll talk about a lot today. We'll talk about the macro picture, about the thing with Trump's tariffs, with the SEC decision, with the FOMC meeting, and more. In addition to all the charts for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, and any other tokens that you want me to check out. So it's going to be a great stream. Yo, what's going on, Rohan? Ghost Recap, Oscar. A lot of good people here. Sweet. Sniffed It says, I feel like last week was very boring and slow for Bitcoin. Yes, and we will talk about it now. So, like I said, if you guys haven't liked the stream, would be much appreciated if you could. Help spread us to the masses and get more people in here. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. So looking at the past 24 hours of liquidations, 113 million, longs being 54, shorts being 59 million. Now, this was just 90 million an hour ago. And so a lot of shorts have gotten liquidated over the past hour, which we've seen that with Bitcoin rising now, Ethereum rising now. We're having a nice little Sunday pump. So again, we'll talk about all that, but that is great to see. Now also, let's refresh the page and look at our liquidation heat map. So Bitcoin's rising. It looks like it wants to tag this 96.1K level, which is great to see. We're having a nice little rise higher. So good to see with 90 that. And again, when we tag this 96K level, potentially we could have a little pullback. We do have liquidity to the downside at 94.1K. So maybe Monday or Tuesday we may have that pullback. But for now, it looks like this 96K level does want to get tagged on the 24-hour. And then looking at the 1 week liquidation heat map, you can see there's a little liquidity, but more so at 98.3K, but there is still a lot near 93.3K. So here's the big thing, guys, is one, if Bitcoin does have a pullback, I am expecting 93 to 94K to hold. That is the support level that needs to hold. Otherwise, Bitcoin's going a lot lower, but I don't see that. I think that we're going to have a nice little rally until mid-February, and then we may have a bleed for the next few months after that. So we'll talk about more of that as well, what levels I'm looking for. But right now, it looks like Bitcoin does want to climb a little bit higher here, which is great to see. Now, let's talk about some big news items. So, one thing here. Michael Saylor hinted at buying more Bitcoin. Okay, now, here's the thing. Whenever Michael Saylor buys more Bitcoin or hints at buying more Bitcoin, what that means is we see a pump in the market short term. So, just like we're seeing now, it would not surprise me if Michael Saylor's buying Bitcoin right now. But then afterwards, usually we have a short drop. So potentially we'll see Bitcoin rising to 96 to 97K. Saylor announces he bought Bitcoin, and then we have a pullback. That's what I would expect. So for now, a little bit higher. Michael Saylor's probably T-whopping into Bitcoin, just buying $1 million worth every 15, 30 minutes. And then we'll continue to do so at an exponential rate until he purchases however much he wants, whether it's 100 million, more or less. But that's something to watch out for. Also, We had news just come out. It says the EU prepares up to $100 billion in tariffs and market restrictions on U.S. companies in retaliation to Greenland threats. No one saw this coming, right? No one saw this coming. I'm being sarcastic, of course. Everyone saw this coming because Trump implemented 10% tariffs on all of the countries: France, Finland, Norway, Sweden, Denmark, Germany, Netherlands, United Kingdom. And he said the tariffs will increase to 25% on June 1st if a deal to acquire Greenland is not reached. So this is creating some FUD in the market, guys. This right here. And the fact that this just came out with the EU, could that cause a little bit of tension in the market? Yes, it could. Absolutely, it could. Okay. So that's something that we need to be aware of. Is could this cause a little pullback? Let's see what happens with Bitcoin's price. Let's see. Okay. Because honestly, I saw this coming. I haven't talked about it earlier today. So we'll just have to see exactly what happens. Now, I don't think this is going to be much of a big deal, to be honest. I mean, the US only gets so many things from the EU. So we'll have to see what happens with that. But there's going to be a lot of hardball, and there's going to be a lot of negotiations going on over the next week. I can guarantee you that. Now, a positive thing that happened was Jim Cramer saying, get ready for a bad market open for Monday. And so Inverse Cramer, very popular, basically taking the opposite trade of Cramer, has worked out very well for most people. But again, at the end of the day, it's just a meme. So market still could open up red, but just something to keep in mind there. Also, we have Steak and Shake buying $10 million worth of Bitcoin for their strategic Bitcoin reserve. So still good to see a lot of companies are supporting it. Also, Treasury Secretary Bessent saying it's very unlikely the Supreme Court rules against President Trump's tariffs. So this is also something to keep in mind, where you have the Supreme Court. Now, they didn't rule on Trump's tariffs on January 14th. They pushed it back to actually January 31st. Let me go ahead and show you that real quick. So now you can see there's a 69% chance that the Supreme Court will rule on Trump's tariffs. So this is something to watch out for, because it was January 14th. There's a small percentage. Now it's much more likely that they'll rule here. And now you have Treasury Secretary Bessent saying it's unlikely that they'll rule against Trump's tariffs. Also, you have the White House saying that it's very unlikely that they are going to rule against Trump's tariffs. And so when you have the White House saying that, in addition to Treasury Secretary Bessent, then that could mean, okay, maybe, they are going to still pass. Because Trump did say he would find ways to circumvent the Supreme Court's ruling if they did rule against his tariffs. So that's something I'm watching very closely. But nonetheless, just more uncertainty in the market. And then besides that, we also have the U.S. government saying they will not sell any Bitcoin. And then we also had a lot of drama regarding the Clarity Act. So for those who don't know, the Clarity Act still has not passed. They're going to bring it up to a vote again. And Brian Armstrong, who's a big proponent of it, actually dropped out or withdrew his support because he says the banks are trying to kill competition under the current Crypto Clarity Act. And so Brian Armstrong wants it to be fair for all. He wants there to be clear rules and regulations and a level playing field for everyone. Apparently the banks don't want that. And so that's why he dropped out of it. Obviously it got everyone's attention because we're like, what's going on? Brian Armstrong was a big advocate for it. So again, it's just something that they're basically back to the drawing board and seeing if they can come to a happy medium. So something to watch for the Clarity Act as well, if they come to an agreement by the end of the month. But just a few big news items that we've had over the week. Now, let's see what questions everyone has. So let's see where we're going. Let's go on to Angel. Good to have you here. Bromes, ACD, long time since I attended your live stream. How have you been? Hey, Bromes, I've been good. Good to see you as always. Just staying busy, navigating this market chop as always. Peter, good to see you here. Baby Story says ETH is going to outperform Bitcoin. Yes, I can definitely see that over the next few weeks. Let's see. Peter says, check out Lit USDT. I will check it out. Definitely, Peter. Let's see. Baby Story says, check Bitcoin dominance. I'll check that out as well. And then Kevin Murray says, opinions on KTA. I'll check that. And then let's see. So Harsh says, what's your update on the Litecoin long you posted in the group? So that was Luke who posted that. So I'm not Luke. My name is actually John Luke. Similar names, but similar sounding people, but different people there. But I'll look at Litecoin as well. See, Oscar says, I'm Swedish. Very nice. Baby Stories, can you pull the mic a little up? Okay, yeah, we'll do. Sprocco, it's good to see you here. How can you hear me, by the way, guys? Is my voice loud enough? Is it good? Is it quiet? Is it low? Do I need to turn my volume up more? Let me know. Let me know if it's fine or if I need to turn my volume up a little bit more or turn my volume down. David says, where do you go to find your research like market technicals and key news? So I go to Watch Your Guru. So Watch Your Guru is a big one, and I'll go ahead and link that. So I go there to find my news. Also, TradFi. TradFi actually finds news out quicker than Watch Your Guru does. And then also, if you guys haven't followed me on X at the CryptoData, I also post a lot of good content as well. So this is my account here, CryptoData. So I am not Luke Belmar. I am CryptoData. John Luke is my actual name. But yeah, so if you guys were curious on that. Let's see. Go says, which macro event do you think is going to affect the market more? You know, I mean, at the end of the day, tariffs are a big proponent that affects the market. Also, something I do want to mention as well, that was a big, you could say, event that caused a lot of turmoil in the market was the whole Iran situation. So as you remember, the US was very, very close to attacking Iran. Now let's see if I can find it here. Yeah, I know Remarks, Watch Your Guru's other account has that. But yeah, Iran was actually close to getting attacked by the US and they pulled it off at the last minute. I do still think that Iran could get attacked. I'm not ruling that out at all this month. And so just keep that in mind. Is that something that I think definitely we could see? That's a potential. Currently, if we look at the odds, US strikes Iran by January 31st, it's 24% chance. Probably going to go higher than this, okay? Still a possibility. I would just say don't be surprised if it happens, okay? I would just say that. But that's also something I'm watching very closely. But yeah, tariffs are a big issue, though. Tariffs are a big issue, and they need to resolve this quickly. Otherwise, this whole thing's going to get blown out of proportion. EU is going to tack on a lot. US is going to tack on a lot. Eventually, they should come to an agreement, but just something to watch out for. Let's see. Austin says, slight echo, but not bad at all. Okay, good to know. Appreciate it. Oscar says, damn, you sound like Luke. That's pretty funny. Cool. Let me look at some more things, and then I will get to more of your questions. So real quick, just looking at, and I'll work on the echo as well. I'll buy some sound dampening foam and put it on the wall. But looking at the S&P right now, 6940, potentially a bearish divergence here on the RSI, the weekly. It is crossing below its signal line, so we could see the S&P have a little drop here. Now, last year we did have the S&P outperform crypto. This year it could be the opposite. Crypto could outperform the S&P. So this will just be confirmation if we do get a close below 6890, confirming this bearish divergence, and then we would approach that 6630 level. And then resistance-wise, obviously 7,000 is a big resistance. We get above that, S&P is probably going a lot higher. So just depending on what the RSI wants to do here. Now, gold, no surprise here, continuing higher because gold's a hedge against deflation, a hedge against uncertainty. So, I mean, heck, gold to 5,000, why not? But we do still have a bearish divergence playing out here, okay? So that's something I'm watching very closely as well. You can see here, if the RSI makes lower highs, also it's rejecting off its signal line, we could see bearish divergence playing out. Gold coming back down to 4270, if not 4,000. Going to keep an eye on this very closely. And then oil futures, nothing too crazy currently. And then we also have the DXY 9950 currently. Did reject off of that. And then 120 afterwards would be the next big resistance. But if the DXY does reject here of 9950, then we could see a nice little rejection down to 9880, which would be bullish for stocks and crypto. So keep an eye on that. The RSI is basically at 50, crossing to the upside above the signal line. So potentially we could see, something potentially happen here if the DXY continues higher, but going to keep a close eye on that. Now, looking at the overall market here. So Bitcoin's 95.4K continuing higher. Ethereum at 33.55 continuing higher. We also have Solana up to 142. Looking at the top gainers, Dash 12%. So privacy narrative continuing to increase here. Also, if you guys haven't checked out Umbra, UMBRA is another good privacy token actually that I've been watching. And I've mentioned it here before, but Umbra is at 163 right now. You can see a nice spike here it's had. So it's another privacy narrative. They're gonna actually have their public launch in February. So it was delayed. That's why we had the short-term drop here from 166 all the way down to 111. But since then, it's had a nice recovery. So keep an eye on Umbra, a good one. Even XMR and Zcash, right? But yeah, the privacy narrative is still alive and well. That's why Dash is rising. And then a few others at the same time. But Ethereum is near top gainers, which is always nice to see. Usually pulls other altcoins with it. But also Dusk, you can see here, Dusk is a privacy narrative too. Great to see that outperforming. But also, guys, I will go over Lit as well, Rampage. But also something I want to mention is for meme tokens. So memes have been, there's been a lot of rugging on meme tokens. Like there's been a lot of opportunity with gas, with cow, with oil, and a few others, but then they've rugged afterwards. And so just make sure that you guys are taking profits on meme coins because the market's very, very rotation heavy. Always set your stop losses for memes because you do not want to get blown out. So make sure you are managing risk accordingly there. Now, looking at the fear and greed index. So is at 49 currently, signaling indecision among the market. I am assuming this is going to rise even higher. And hopefully we do get towards that greed area. That means retail is definitely back and we will see a nice little uptick in price. But again, just more indecision while we're at this 50 level. Now, as far as the ETF flows, something interesting I want to point out is Friday we had 4 million of inflows for Ethereum, whereas for Bitcoin, we had 394 million of outflows. So it shows you institutions do prefer Ethereum over Bitcoin right now. So we are still seeing a lot of opportunity with that. So that's something I am definitely keeping an eye on, is just that little inverse correlation between Ethereum and Bitcoin. So watching that closely. Now, let's go ahead and take a few questions and then I will talk about Bitcoin here. So let's see. Elvis says, where do I look for projects with big potential before it blows up? For example, maybe any accounts to follow. So Elvis, you could follow Benjamin Cohen. I mean, he's more of a macro guy as far as finding, big accounts. So he's one to follow. I'll link him. Virtual Bacon isn't too bad. Virtual Bacon is macro as well, but does review a lot of projects. And also, myself, right? CryptoData. So I also talk about a lot of projects. Check my pinned message and check my previous messages. I do post a lot of projects when they come out. So definitely check that out. But yeah, there's a lot of opportunity. There's some good people to follow, but you just have to be willing to do the research and, of course, filter through the noise is a big portion of it. Let's see what other questions we have. Samantha says, hi, John Luke, there is a bit of an echo. Got it. Okay, I will work on fixing the echo in the future because I do know that does tend to be a factor, especially with the sound and my floor is currently setting up the new office. Oscar says, first time joining the live and also just joined Gym Hunters. Greetings. Welcome. Glad to have you here. Hopefully you're enjoying the live. Afnanzel, good to have you here. Miss Bamufudi, I love you from Kashmir. Okay, much love to Kashmir. Sprackos, 18 billion longs to get liquidated if Bitcoin hits 77K. Very interesting there. We'll probably hit that level towards the middle of the year. David says, thanks, helped a lot. Also, I just followed your X account. Hey, appreciate it, David. Thank you so much for the support, guys. It means a lot. Baby Story says, your thoughts about ICP? No opinion of it, but I will go over ICP as well for some TA. And then, let's see, Awais says, breaking, the EU is preparing up to 93 billion in tariffs. Yes, so the EU tacking on those tariffs is a big deal, right? Like this here. The EU preparing 100 billion in tariffs and market restrictions on U.S. companies. Obviously going to cause a little FUD in the market. So just something, just again, more back and forth. Mista says, did you see NASDAQ approved ODTE on the MAG 7 for Monday and Wednesday? Actually did not. I'll have to check that out. Snifted, do you think buying XMR on spot is a good idea right now? I think XMR near 560 may not be bad, and then even better at 480. I do think XMR spot isn't a bad decision. And then Rampage, I will check Lit. can I ask which crypto you are holding in your portfolio? Yeah, Ethereum is one. And of course, Bitcoin and Solana are the main ones. But I'm kind of just juggling between a few. Umbra, I think is going to be good for privacy narrative. And then probably starting to DCA into some XMR as well. Let's see. Florian says virtual. David, which do you prefer, CoinMarketCap or CoinGecko? Also, when looking for gems, what do you mainly look for, like market cap wise, volume, etc.? So I just default to CoinGecko. It's easier for me visually to learn, but I mean, technically CoinMarketCap has more data. So I use that for the fear and greed index because I like the way they consolidate everything. But yeah, for me, just visually, CoinGecko is easier to look at. Kevin Murray says, please cover KTA. Yep, will do, Kevin. Afnanzel says, I have a position on Zcash, average entry 440. I followed your signal, but leverage is 5x, liquidate 345. What do I do? So I did not call a long on Zcash, but I can look at the token for you. Sabo says, I joined Gem Hunter right now. Hey, welcome. Welcome to everyone who's joining Gem Hunter and everyone who's watching. I appreciate all of you. And definitely if you guys can like the live stream, that'd be amazing. But with that said, let's go over a lot of these tokens that you guys are asking about. So Bitcoin right now, 95.4K. Love to see it. RSI on the 4 hour is doing great. Stock RSI is doing great. Let's look at the daily though. So if we zoom out here, you can see we're in this upward channel for Bitcoin with resistance near this 96.6K level and major resistance near 99K. So that's going to be a big level to reject off of. Now, looking at the indicators on the daily, RSI is bouncing off the signal line. Stock RSI looks like it wants to curve back to the upside. Our synergy indicator with momentum waves looks like they are slightly starting to curve to the upside. Again, still waiting for this to see if we do have finally some upward price action. So far, so good. Bouncing off this major support, 93.6 to 94.6K. Be a good level to DCA at if Bitcoin does go lower here. But I am still expecting a retest of 96 to 97K. Also, it does line up with the liquidity heat map with liquidation levels near those levels. So I do think it's a possibility we still continue higher from here, especially considering the daily indicators and the 4 hour indicators. Now, if we do end up closing below, let's say 93.6K, then at the very least, I would look for this 92.4K level to be tested with the 50 EMA. And then below that, I mean, honestly, you're looking at potentially down to 90K or 89K, which remember, we have the CME gap at 88.2K. But at the end of the day, not really considering that until 93.6K is broken, expecting to go higher from here. Now looking at Ethereum, and then we'll talk about all the other charts as well. Ethereum 3352. Now here's the big level, guys, you need to be watching out for. I mean, we're basically forming a double top here, right? We could very well do this. That forms an M if you guys can't see it. So basically double topping here at this 3350 level and then going lower. Now, invalidation could be a daily close above 3360. Daily close above 3360 could be invalidation. At the same time, though, you do have the RSI forming a bearish divergence, which is not good, and the stock RSI forming one. So now the question becomes, well, is it better to short here or long here? Well, I mean, with the tensions we had just with the EU and the tariff situation, some may argue it's better to short because there's uncertainty in the market, right? And I would not disagree with that. I think shorting right here is probably the plus EV trade with a stop loss fairly close. I would say a stop loss would be a daily close above 3370. But there just needs to be some negotiation between the EU and the US. And this whole Greenland deal is kind of blowing out of proportion now with the tariff situation. But again, let's see what happens Monday, right? Monday is going to determine a lot. I mean, is crypto that safe haven now? Is it that flight to safety? Or is crypto more of a, let's just kind of wait and see, and it's going to happen, it's going to be correlated just like stocks? Well, I will say this. I will say that whenever we had the tensions with Venezuela, crypto held up relatively well. Bitcoin only fell 1 or 2%. So this whole tariff situation, I think a lot of it is being priced in, even with the EU's news. I mean, surprisingly, we're still holding up well. I would expect a bigger drop from that news. Let's see what Trump's reaction is on Monday or later tonight. That's going to determine a lot. But depending how much these tariffs escalate, and if China, Russia, or any of these other countries get involved, then things can get a little weird, right? Then I could say, okay, maybe we may pull back a little more than expected. But the fact that the Ethereum is closing above its 200-day EMA, a bullish sign, that's something to look forward to. But I really want to see it cross above here. This 3350 level is definitely acting as resistance, so I want to see it cross above. Otherwise, I'd look for 3290 to 3270. We did have an Ethereum long, just missed it. Literally would be up. We'd hit both take profit levels if we would have got that. But nonetheless, after 3270, I'd be looking for around 3170 to 3190 here. That's where I had the bottom of the entry at for the Ethereum long. And we still make those higher lows and we still continue higher from there. So otherwise, if we cross above, looking for 35 to 3600 as the next major resistance point. And then finally, looking at Solana. So Solana's at 142, bouncing off this 141 support. So that's the big thing to watch here for Solana. If it closes below 141, at the very least 138, which does coincide with this resistance turn support, that'd be my next major level. The RSI is crossing below its signal line. Stock RSI may start to close, cross to the upside here, but I want to see this RSI get back above the signal line. Otherwise, we could see further bearish momentum. So Solana is hanging on by a thread at 141. If you want to have invalidation at a close below 141, that could be something to play out as well. But like I said, Solana right now still is holding. Major resistance is 145, followed by this 100-day EMA at 148, and then 155 being the next major resistance as it was support on November 7th. Now, if it falls below 138 on the 50-day EMA, then I'd be looking for 130 as the next major support. Let's see what other questions we got. Bayo Edit says, glad to see you, CD. Weekly close in a few hours. Very crucial for potential RSI cross. Bayo Edit's good to see you as well. Always good to see familiar faces in here. Yes, let's keep an eye on the weekly RSI cross as well. I do know that a lot of indicators are showing a bullish cross on the RSI signal line on the weekly. So I could also confirm some more bullish momentum. So maybe people are front running that currently. So definitely watching that closely. And then what else do we have? Yeah, for the posts in the free Gym Hunters group in the Telegram, guys, look at the bottom right and you'll be able to see the name of whoever posts. So if you see Luke Belmar, obviously it's Luke. If you see CryptoData, it's me. If you see Kincaid, it's him. And then if you don't see anyone, that's just the Gym Hunters account posting. So just make sure you guys are checking the name in the bottom right. So I am not Luke Belmar. I'm John Luke. We sound similar, but we're different people. So that's just kind of to clear up any confusion with that. Let's see. Flora John says, saw some analysis. Some people think that Bitcoin's going to hit at least 116K and then pull back. What do you think about this? Yeah, so I am bullish on Bitcoin right now. I'm bullish on Bitcoin right now, but here's the pattern I'm looking at, okay? Here's what I'm looking at. Head and shoulders. So head and shoulders means the Bitcoin's probably going to rise up here to around 105K, plus or minus. I do think that's a possibility here. I do think we very well could rise up to this level. Now, the first order of battle, though, is getting above this 50 EMA, okay? It's held as support in 2024 and 2025. Now it's acting as resistance. This 50 EMA is 97.8K. We also have major resistance at 99K. So now the question becomes, well, are we going to close above this? There's also trendline support, turn resistance around the same level. So you see there's a lot of confluence around here that can act as resistance. And so if Bitcoin can close above all that, historically in the past, what we've seen for these EMA levels, if they are crossed above, is historically Bitcoin does rise about 8%. Okay? 8% would give us 105K, which would line up with this right shoulder pattern before much lower. Okay? So we could see something like that. And then that would take us to 66K or even lower to 30K. Why do I say 30K? Well, if we look at the data, in the past, we've seen these pullbacks, 83% down from the highs of 2018, 75% down from the highs of 2021. And then if we take it from the highs of last year, 75% is 30K. Okay, that's if we're trying to do apples to apples here. Now, yes, this time could be different. ETF flows, institutions, etc. I get it. But just having some type of lower end target, 30K. I don't think we'll go that low. I think the 200 weekly EMA at 67K is a good happy medium there for a bounce. But this is just like you guys need to get into the idea of looking at the most bearish scenario here and being prepared mentally for that. What does that mean? Well, it means that you need to take profits over the next month. That's what it means. You guys need to take profits over the next month. This is most likely a relief bounce, dead cat bounce, bounced off the 100 weekly EMA. Now we're going to go a little bit higher before pulling back further. Just keep that in your mind. Mid-February, you're going to be extremely bullish. You're going to say, man, Bitcoin's above 100K. This is going to the moon. And then it's going to pull back, and then you're going to wonder why you didn't take profits again. So just keep this in mind. Let's see. Okay, now let me go over some other charts that people wanted me to go over. So lit, okay? I called the lit spot call. Right now it's 198. The token is very frustrating, to say the least. Currently, what we're seeing here, stock RSI did have a nice little run from being oversold. Now it's overbought. RSI is curving to the downside. So now the question becomes, is lit even going to gain any traction from here? The 4-hour resistance at 206. So for anyone that's in lit right now, I mean, the strength, the lack of strength, I should say, is frustrating to say the least. If we look at the daily chart, I mean, the daily is oversold almost more than any chart I've seen. Okay. So what I would say is, I don't know, lit isn't looking bullish at all to me. I'd probably say just cut your losses and go from here. Honestly, I mean, lit needs to show some strength. At the very least, close above 206 on the 4-hour, because all these other tokens are pumping and lit isn't even catching a bid. Eventually, yes, it's going to catch up. It's going to catch up to hype. When is that going to happen, though? That remains to be seen. I mean, look at that. We just had a big drop to 194, and now it's trying to do what it can. But yeah, lit's not looking good. I would not be a buyer here, just period. So if you're in it, I would say cut your losses right now, because being spot probably best, or you could wait it out, right? Wait for that stop loss that we had for a daily close below 180, because we haven't reached that yet. Just depending on your risk management, how much money you're willing to lose, then you could wait, and hopefully we could see some type of rally here. So let's see. Let's see, right? The 4-hour needs to reset, though, first and foremost, and then potentially we could end up going higher. But yeah, 180 definitely needs to hold. Now let's see other tokens off the top of my head. I'll go over KTA, I'll go over Litecoin, I'll go over Bitcoin dominance, and I'll go over ETH BTC. So KTA bounced nicely from 27 cents. Okay, that's where I mentioned that we could have a nice rally. Big resistance near this level. We couldn't quite close above it. Now we rejected. Okay, so 27 at 27.8 right now. Where would I be a buyer of KTA? Well, basically, I mean, if around 27 cents isn't bad, the stock RSI, though, does need to pull back more. Like, we do need to pull back, and we also have bearish momentum dot. So 27 cents, I may start to DCA, but really, I'd be a buyer at 23.6 cents. Otherwise, a lot of resistance at 30 cents if you want to look for a take profit level. And then Litecoin. And then we'll go over Fartcoin as well. We'll cover that. I need to cover that token too. But Litecoin doesn't look too bad, okay? Stock RSI is oversold, now curving to the upside. RSI is curving to the upside. Got a little green bullish momentum dot there. So we could see some momentum building on Litecoin. Resistance-wise, I look for $81 as the next major point to take some profits. But yeah, if you're looking for a buy level for Litecoin, I mean, $68 would be a good level. If you can get near 68, that'd be a good level. Obviously, it would need to hold near $72. That would be a big support level. So that's something I would watch very, very closely. But yeah, I mean, just do it, play it level by level for Litecoin, right? So now we need to hold 74. It closed above that, retesting that as support, and then you just kind of stair step higher. But hopefully this is the beginning of higher lows on Litecoin. Trying to think. And also, let me talk about ETH BTC. So here's another thing here, okay? So we are approaching this trend line resistance on the symmetrical triangle on ETH BTC. Support, resistance. Now, if we draw a line as far as a breakout pattern of here, be conservative, then let's just say find the middle more or less. I should say right about here. Then we take that to the top here. Then we could see around 0.04. Okay, that'd be the bullish target for or the conservative target for ETH BTC. It looks like though it's going to reject off of this trend line resistance and continue before it does a breakout. That's what it looks like right now. So just be patient with this ETH BTC chart. Eventually we probably could see it go a lot higher. Indicators looking good on the daily. Now it's just waiting for this breakout pattern here. Now, also looking for Fartcoin. There's another one I was looking at the other day. Currently it's at 34.5 cents. Still a couple hours before the daily close. It can, very bearish here. May not be a bad shorting opportunity, honestly. It did close below its 50-day EMA. Looks like it's rejecting further. Not looking too good. The stock RSI is oversold though, so potentially going to be watching this closely, but not looking the best. Needs to close back above 35 cents for me to get bullish again. Now, let's see. Let's go and look at ZEC. So ZEC is at 387. At the very least, I'd be waiting for it to come to 360. That'd be my buy level. That'd be a nice little bullish divergence on the stock RSI. Make a lower low on price, higher low on the stock RSI, and then curve higher from there. That'll be my bet for Zcash. Let's see, what else do we have? Bayo Edit says, in the 1 month liquidation map, do we leave all the downside liquidity behind? So, I mean, the 1 month liquidity heat map is a little bit less accurate because these people could close out their positions, right? So basically, people who longed to 86K, most of these people could be closed out by now because it's been over a month. That's what that's saying. Because these orders or these liquidity levels don't get cleared until price reaches this. So in saying that, people could be already out of their positions because it's been over a month. That's what I would say. That's why I look at the 1 week or the 24-hour because they're more recent positions and they're likely still holding. So that's why I'm checking out those two levels. But hopefully we see this 96K level get tagged on that. But if we do come down to 88.2K, yes, it's a possibility those monthly 86K levels could get tagged for that CME gap. David says, do you prefer centralized or decentralized or centralized exchanges? And which one do you use? I prefer decentralized because they say not your keys, not your crypto. Centralized exchanges opens you up to a lot more unnecessary risk. In saying that, it is important to diversify because you still could get hacked if you're trying to trade on your hot wallet only. So diversify between the top centralized exchanges, between MetaMask, Phantom, Rabby, etc. And then obviously cold storage as well. Let's see, sniffed it. Can you look at the 250 moving average? Yeah, so I have so the 50 moving average is the green line and the 200 is the pink line for my indicators here. So were you talking about Bitcoin or Ethereum? I'm trying to figure out which one you were talking about. Yeah, let me know which token you were talking about, sniffed. Away says Trump said 10% duties on the eight EU countries increase 24% on June 1st unless any deals reach. Exactly. So yeah, looking for Trump to have discussions with him and come to the table sometime this week to discuss the tariffs. Flora John, so do you not expect a new all-time high this year? I don't think so. I think that most people maybe are expecting a 5-year cycle and it may disappoint. So that'd be my only hesitation. Yeah, if Nonzel, for your Zcash entry, ZEC entry, I mean, 360, maybe there's support there. That's where I'll be looking at for Zcash. So daily close below that. I mean, I just be careful because your liquidation price is so close, but hopefully 360 holds for you. All right. Lewis says, what do you think about Dash? So, yeah, so I mean, Dash isn't doing too bad. Again, that privacy narrative hitting strong. So, yeah, I mean, Dash is good. What can I say? I mean, it's a crazy run though, right? But daily closes above here when we could see a retest of 91 and then eventually maybe see 109 if it's, I mean, I would say this is probably there. 102 would be a more likely level. I wouldn't be buying right here. I would wait to buy at 74, a retest of that. I mean, eventually, or you could say 69, but yeah, between 70 to 74 is probably the safer area to buy. Any higher than that, and it's kind of like, you know, you're risking here with the overbought indicators, especially if you have, I mean, the 4 hour looks okay, but yeah, daily just being as oversold as it is, I'd just be careful. Or overbought as it is, I'd be careful. Kevin says KTA in terms of going up though, I see it doubling at least this year. It's possible, absolutely. Absolutely, Kevin. And for KTA, I mean, again, it just, there's a lot of people that were in it early and now they're not. And so it gives it room to run. Now, the daily, like I said, it still could pull back. The weekly, though, the weekly is looking good. Weekly is looking good. So the daily resets, and then we could see a run up to 38.40 cents. Absolutely. But I just want to see the daily reset a little more. Potentially even getting another entry at 23 cents if possible. We'd still make higher lows as well. If it, let me draw this. If we got up to 23, we'd still make higher lows. So it wouldn't be bearish if we got to 23. Check out Pepe as well. Is the call still valid? So I did not call Pepe. I believe Kincaid called Pepe. So if it hit the stop loss, it's not valid anymore. So yeah, I mean, I would say, could you see a descending wedge here? It's kind of stretching it, honestly. Maybe a descending wedge though. But yeah, Pepe for support, 5.5 is a good support level. Also lines up with the 50-day EMA, and then also 5.1. So 5.5 and 5.1 DCAing down, very low leverage, like 2 to 3x. Bayo edits, got you. Thanks for the tip. Ain't no problem. David says, thanks for all your knowledge in this live stream. Ain't no problem, David. Hope you guys are getting a lot of good content and a lot of good information. Snifted, BTC, it's very early, but it looks like March or April. It's possible, Snifted. It's very possible. Should I rotate my money from lit to hype? Let's check out hype. Let's see. So hype is 25.34. Hype is very choppy right now. Like you can see the indicators are in the 50. RSI is kind of curving down. Stock RSI is curving up. I just don't like hype's chart because it's just hard to catch a read, right? It doesn't really respect SR lines as it should. In saying that, I mean, potentially an order at 24.80. If you want to take a long position on hype, 24.80. The stock RSI, I mean, yeah, the 4 hour definitely needs to pull back. So at the very least, 24.80 and then $23. But yeah, as far as lit is concerned, I feel better getting out of lit and getting into something more, you know, something stronger, honestly. So that'd be my thoughts on it. If you want to get into hype, 24.70 and then $23 low leverage or even spot. Afnanzel, I went over ZEC already. You can see I went over here and mentioned that 360 is the next level I'm looking for. So Afnanzel for you, ZEC 360 level I'm looking for. Your liquidation's at 345. Hopefully it doesn't get hit, but I would just watch for this 360 level to hold, potentially forming a bullish divergence on the stock RSI. Let's see. Okay, yeah, Snifted was talking about the golden cross for Bitcoin, similar to March or April. Let's see. Yeah, if you see the 50 EMA with the 200, yeah, I mean, potentially here, if we see the 50 EMA continuing to rise, the 200 continue like this, and we have a golden cross sometime in February, that's possible. Very possible, right? But we just need to keep an eye on this. And definitely, like you said, it could be foreshadowing. No problem, Nonzel. Hopefully that helped. Let's see. Rampage says, also, if Lighter lights up, how much would you think it can hit? So for Lighter, I mean, this token is just so depressing. Like any type of rally, it just hardly reacts. If I was looking for a rally for Lit, I mean, maybe 260. Honestly, I wouldn't look for much more than 260. I mean, Lit is like, yes, you could probably reach 320. I mean, this would be like the max bull case is 320. That's the max I'll look for. Other than that, it looks like it's just like on a downward spiral here. Like if I would say any redemption right now, here is the biggest silver lining I could think of. Like if there is some type of, maybe this is an inverse head and shoulders pattern and it's just like, and it's just going up from here, right? Like if that happens, awesome. Like that would be amazing. But I just can't see that happening with this, literally like how bearish it is. Like it is one of the worst tokens I've ever seen in my life. And I'm being honest with that. Is its performance has been horrible. And it's just like, yeah, really nothing going on with this token. So I thought its time had come with the daily oversold levels with the RSI, but it's not showing me anything. So yeah, I'll just get out if you're in it. It is depressing, Austin. It's very depressing. Austin says, appreciate the stream today, C. Looking forward to it every Sunday. Hey, appreciate you. And Musu says, Filecoin. Let's look at Filecoin. All right. Filecoin is looking a little better here. Filecoin here, you could say, I mean, this is a stretch again. Potentially a little inverse head and shoulders here. But Filecoin, if you're looking to buy some, 144 is a good level. If you look at the indicators, same thing. Stock RSI curving to the upside, RSI curving to the downside. So yeah, 167 would be the next resistance, but I wouldn't be a buyer again until 144, especially with this RSI rejecting off its signal line. Peter says, been trading lit over the last week. I do like the plus or minus 5% on its swings. Yeah, it could be good with the swings, absolutely. But anything for a swing trade, it is definitely pretty bad. Elvis says, do you think there's any chance for another project to replace ETH and Sol at this point? You know, I don't think so. I think it's going to be a while before anything replaces them just because the rotations are so rampant nowadays. No one's really backing a certain token. And so that's why I think the OGs are probably here to stay. Lewis, I've looked at it once for the lighter decks. I have heard the tech is better than Hyperliquid. And they do have a lot of support, a lot of big backers. And it's just, they need the attention, right? And so lighter has a lot of opportunity to be a really good token. And I hope it does. It's just, the team needs to get on board with the marketing, the token supply, the tokenomics, and really start pushing it. Because it's dying currently. So it is a lot of opportunity though. Rampage, are you investing in any stocks this year? If yes, for example, what do you think about Tesla? So yeah, let's talk about stocks for a minute. I do like Tesla. 100% I love Tesla. And I actually do have a Tesla myself. I recommend everyone buy one, especially the Model Y Juniper. It is the best self-driving car there is. Literally drives me from point to point without pressing a button. But to answer your questions, I'm invested a little bit in stocks. Tesla being one of them. Now, looking at the chart here, I mean, the biggest thing right now is just, can it break its all-time highs of 493? Right now, it's below its 50-day EMA. RSI still curving to the downside. So, yeah, I just be careful buying it right now. I mean, 366 is obviously a good level. And then potentially 420. If you can get there, there's been some support in the past. Resistance turns support. So 420 I'd be interested in. Also coincides with the 100-day EMA, which it did bounce off of November 20th. And also August 21st. So yeah, I'll say 420 would be a good DCA level. And below that, I look at 366. Exactly, yeah. So if Bitcoin goes down afterwards, you definitely have to start focusing on swing trading and then being comfortable with shorts. Let's see, XAG USD, so gold. Well, XAG here, I would look for a pullback down to at least 80, followed by 71. And then XAU, so gold. Again, we talked about it earlier with the weekly chart, here. But yeah, 4270 would be the big support for gold that I'd be looking for, followed by 4,000. Rampage, if you can get Tesla at 420, it'd be a good area. Sniffed it. CD, did you see Tesla monthly subscription update? Yeah, where they're taking away the FSD one-time purchase of 8,000, switching to only monthly subscriptions. I think they're doing that because of the pay package. So Elon's pay package, his $1 trillion pay package, is contingent. One of the things is 10 million FSD subscriptions, 10 million people on FSD. So that's why I believe he switched from the one-time purchase to only monthly. And that would convert a lot of people to monthly instead, be the focus on that. So I think that's the main reason. Let's see, link or rune chart question mark buy. So that, yeah, we'll cover this real quick, guys. And then, whoops. So link. Right now for Link, it's holding the 50-day EMA, so potentially 1360 may be a good buy level, but the major support would be 1280. The RSI is bouncing off the signal line, so it doesn't look too bad here. So potentially push on Link up until 1420, which would be a good take profit level. And then after that, be looking for 1465. A lot of confluence there with resistance, so I'll be watching for that. And then below it for support, I'll be watching for 1275 if it does break below this 50-day EMA at 1360. Then you also said Rune. So we'll check out Rune real quick. Rune's looking pretty depressing as well. Buy level for Rune would be 60 cents. Yeah, no sooner than 60 because the RSI and stock RSI are pretty high here. Also getting a little red alarm. Yeah, at the very least, I wait for 60 on Rune, followed by 53 cents. Yeah, supercomputer already looked at XAU and XAG. My support for gold, 42.70, and then XAG, I believe, was $80.71. And then, yeah, I already looked at the S&P as well earlier in the stream. Yeah, no, definitely bearish on the weekly as well. So could see a pullback with the S&P over the next few weeks. But, yep. With that said, guys, if you guys don't have any other questions, that is going to conclude the stream. Hopefully you enjoyed the stream. Again, I enjoyed making it for you. And as always, if you guys haven't liked the stream, please like it. It helps out a lot. Helps spread Gem Hunters to the masses. Also, if you guys have not followed me on X at the CryptoData, please do so. I'll post a lot of updates and make sure you guys stay updated with the market, as well as keep these live streams coming every Sunday at 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. I may have one tomorrow as well at the same time with a certain course that I may be giving, a certain lesson. Usually I'll give those on Mondays for the next few weeks. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. And like I said, let's see what happens this week. I'll keep you guys updated with the tariff situation as well. If you want to join the Gem Hunters Premium group, 1 Ethereum for a yearly subscription in the description as well. If you haven't joined the free group, that is also in the description. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you all have a great weekend. Talk to you soon. See ya.